Hello, hello. Welcome to Divorce the Next Chapter. This episode is titled Being Ready Isn't a Feeling, It is a Decision. This is where we turn your transitions into empowering new beginnings. Okay? So whether you've been through a divorce or you've been through a toxic relationship and you're in that wonky window and you don't know how to get out of it and return to having a fruitful life that you want, this is where to start. Okay? So many of us delay taking charge of our lives after divorce. But here's the truth. This is the truth. Readiness isn't about being perfectly prepared. Readiness is about making a conscious choice. Was I ready for divorce? No, not at all. But I made a decision because I did not want that life for myself nor my daughters any longer. Did I know how to get myself out of it, what my next step was? No, absolutely not. But I made that decision and that's what drove me. So back in 2018, I had filed, it was around this time actually, but 2018, I had filed for my taxes like everybody does every year. And my accountant, I had known him for 20 plus years. And this one particular year, I handed him my taxes. I had 2 W-2s and my partner, husband at the time, had like 7. And when I went to sign my taxes, my accountant looked at me and said, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I was like taken back and I was like, what do you mean? What am I doing? He's like, you have 2 W-2s. You have a job and a career that you're consistent in. It's the same thing over and over again. You've only left your job being a nurse to a better position of being a nurse. So like I went from staff to management, for example. He has 7 different W-2s of all different jobs. Your finances are a mess. What the fuck are you doing? That was the first time that light bulb didn't just go off, it kind of exploded, okay? And the very next day, I was washing my face and I looked at myself in the bathroom mirror and my bathroom is literally falling apart, tiles falling off the walls, okay? And I said, what the fuck am I doing? I knew for the longest time that I needed change. But I guess I was just waiting for that moment of being ready. And that moment of being ready, that feeling was never going to come because it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Ready happens when you choose to make the change. You choose to be ready. And then everything else will fall into place because you will figure it out. And that's the moment where I said to myself, I got to figure this out. Because the way that this is going, this cycle of happening over and over again is not getting us anywhere. It's not getting me anywhere. It's not getting my daughters anywhere. And all that's happening is they're watching me go through this. And this is not the life that I want them to think is okay. Because it's not okay. And that's the moment where I said to myself, okay, this is it. And I set myself a deadline. If things do not change by Labor Day weekend, because now this is like the end of March, if things do not change by Labor Day weekend, I am filing for divorce. That summer was a disaster of epic proportions. He did do the best thing that he possibly could have done for me, was to give me the silent treatment for 2.5 months, no exaggeration. And at the end of it was Labor Day weekend. And that's when I said, I can't do this anymore. I am making a conscious choice. I am filing for divorce. And that was it. And that sent me on the trajectory to get myself to where I am. So yes, we hesitate because change is hard. We hesitate because of the unknown. We hesitate because we don't know what's going to happen. But you know what? Which is better? Which is better? Putting yourself in the energy of that horrible cycle loop, or putting your energy into something that at the end is going to give you the life that you want and deserve. I chose putting my energy into the life that I wanted and deserved, not just for myself, but for my kids. So let's talk about it. Let's explore why hesitation happens, why the delays happen. A couple of different reasons. There's many reasons. There's tons of reasons. Let's be honest. But let's talk about 3 specific things that I think maybe are common. The fear of the unknown. So I just mentioned it. The fear of the unknown. Stepping into a new chapter can be totally intimidating. Could be, holy crap, what's going to happen? Holy crap, what's my life going to be like? What are my kids going to do? What am I going to do? Where am I going to live? The fear of the unknown. It's way easier to sit in the familiar than it is to make the change and face uncertainty. At the moment, though, only at the moment. When you're 3 months in, 6 months in, a year in, staying in that same spot is way harder than making the changes that you need to better your life. Self-doubt. Self-doubt's huge. Huge. Self-doubt, a lot of women, people in general, but a lot of women in particular, have this self-doubt inner voice. And that could have come from when you were a kid. That could have come from previous relationships. It could have come from anywhere, that you just don't have the confidence. So that self-doubt is questioning whether you're capable or you're enough to create the life that you want. I'm here to tell you that you are. You are worthy. You are, okay? I'm here to tell you that perspective, you can shift it. Even though it's ingrained in your brain for such a long time, there is a way to shift the mindset. There is a way to do it. And I know this sounds so hokey and people are like, what? Affirmations, blah. No, okay. The very, very first thing I did, well, I read a book, You Could Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. If anybody needs it, I highly recommend. Do I have it right here? I do. This is not the original cover, but this book, You Could Heal Your Life by Louise Hay, amazing, okay? I have a story about that, but I'm not going to say that right now. So she taught all of these techniques, and visualization and affirmations are one of them. And the affirmations, after my moment with myself in the mirror, it was kind of like muscle memory, that I knew in my brain, even though I hadn't done it in 20 years, I started saying to myself, you could do this. And I would look myself in the mirror and I would say, you are enough. You are worthy. You could do this. Every day. And what that does, it's actually scientific. What that does is it starts to rewire your brain. Because when we tell ourselves we can't do it, we can't do this, when you give yourself the negative thought process every day, your brain looks for things in reality to justify that thought. So if you change it to positive, your brain is going to start to look for things in reality to justify the thought. Your brain doesn't know the difference between negative and positive. Doesn't. So when you're saying things in your head that is a negative statement, if you first step, consciously recognize that. Second step, consciously rewire the statement. So, for example, if you catch yourself saying to yourself, I can't do that, I can't do that, you immediately have to say, wait a minute, time out. I can do that. I am capable. I am worthy. Another reason maybe people have a hard time stepping into a new era of their life is the emotional residue. So lingering pain and grief from your past marriage or relationship that makes decision making hard, makes you second guess whether moving on is the right choice. It's the grief that we all feel when something ends, whether or not we expected it to end, but when something ends. So it's very similar to the death and dying, the grief process of death and dying. Because instead of grieving over a person, you're actually grieving over your marriage. You're actually grieving over what you thought your marriage was going to be. I thought my marriage was going to be like my parents' marriage. I thought we were going to have a great marriage. We were going to have 2 kids. We were going to have the house. We were going to have a great life. And when I realized that that was not going to happen, I went through all of the stages of grieving. The denial, the anger, the sadness, all of it. So when you're grieving that, you just need to come to the realization that that's what it is. And it's okay. It's okay to say, you know what? This isn't what I thought it was going to be. This isn't the marriage that I signed up for. But there's a whole other world out there. There's a whole other world that in that life, on that timeline, my life is what I thought it was going to be. So, 3 solutions to overcoming the delays, just like I just said, about shifting your perspective. So you're going to shift your perspective on things. You got to shift your mindset and start recognizing the positives in your life and start minimizing those negatives. And it's a conscious daily minute-to-minute effort sometimes, because some days are really bad where we're negative self-talking about everything to ourselves, and some days are pretty good because we are starting to learn how to recognize the positives, and our brain is finding the positives in our life. So shifting perspective is number 1. Number 2 is break it down. If you start to plan things when you go on this journey, if you start to plan things in 6 months and a year out and 5 years out, that could be very overwhelming. So I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to plan things way in advance. Oh, at 3 months, I'm going to have this. At 6 months, I'm going to have this. In a year, I'm going to have that. Don't do that to yourself. That's super overwhelming, okay? We're going to take it day by day. We're going to take it day by day, small actionable steps that's going to get you to your goal. I have a divorce survival guide, which is a 3-part jumpstart. Very, very quick, very, very easy to read, that helps you start taking very small actionable steps. And it'll give you a little jump start on this journey. So if you want to know more about that, just put guide in the comments and I'll get it to you. But there are plenty of things that you could do to start this. And it doesn't even have to be anything emotional. It could be physical. Every day I'm going to wake up, I'm going to make my bed, I'm going to walk on my walking pad for 20 minutes. And every day, check it off on the calendar. Check it off on the calendar. And at day 5, you say, wow, I did pretty damn good. At day 5, I've done this 5 days in a row, and you continue, and you start to build that confidence that these little things start to add up, and they start to really help you towards your goals. And third thing, seek support. Seek support, whatever that is to you. Whether you think you need to get therapy, whether you need to join some groups online, support groups. And they don't even have to be support groups. Maybe they're, book clubs. Maybe they're nature hiking clubs. I don't know. Whatever you like to do, start to seek support with like-minded people. When I was going through my divorce, I was in such a dark, toxic place through my marriage. There weren't that many people that knew what I was going through. Some people knew surface level stuff. There was maybe only one person that really, truly knew what the fuck was going on. And that lack of support, I think, delayed my progress. And it was partly because it was a lot of mental health issues, not for myself on his part, that I was dealing with. A part of it was denial. There was a lot of different things. But once I started to reach out to people, once people knew that I was separated and started to realize, I started to tell them what was going on, it was kind of like a weight was lifted. And seeking that support does that. You start to realize that you're not alone. And I think that's part of our issue is we think we're alone in this. We're not alone. There's many other people that are dealing with similar issues that we could all talk to each other and give that support to each other. Maybe give tips. Maybe say, hey, I tried this. I did this, blah, blah, blah. You got to seek some support. So what's the value? What's the value in this of making the decision that we're ready? That decision, I'm ready. Boom. It's not about perfection. It's about commitment. It's about figuring out how to take your next step. Step, not marathon. Take your next step. Okay? Reclaiming your power. You're opening new doors to new opportunities. New supports mean new friends, new avenues, new discoveries. And sitting in the change, realizing that the change, the energy for the change is better than the energy to stay the same. I'm an experienced professional. I'm not just a nurse. I dealt with an almost 20-year toxic marriage and relationship. And I came out on the other side because I made that first step and learned all these techniques and all of these things that I need to share with people, because I know people think that they're alone because I thought I was alone. And you're not alone. I promise you, you're not alone. Your new chapter starts today. You make that decision to be ready. You don't wait to have the feeling and have the stars and the moon and everything align perfectly to say, I'm ready. You make the decision to be ready, and then everything else will follow. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I hope you got something from it. If you did, comment guide in the comments. Let's have a discussion. Let's chat. I'm here to help you because I've been through it. God knows I fucking know what it's like. And that's it. I hope you join me on my next podcast. You could follow me on Instagram, Divorce the Next Chapter, or Facebook, Divorce the Next Chapter. Join my community. You're not alone. Let's talk. I hope everybody has a great day. I'll see you soon.